Hey everybody. Looks like we got 4 people in here. Honestly, after what went on at the end of the summer party massacre fan commentary last night, through no fault of Dead Pit, it was somebody trolling. I'm actually glad to be here. Um, I'm probably going to have Steve joining me here for a few minutes because I'm going to be doing a daily grindhouse. I got my Severn order in. I don't know what Steve's doing back there, but um, hey, Rooster, you say hi, Dana, to heck with them. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all you can do at this point is say that. And just hope that he doesn't show his face around here. Because
no more.
Well, I'm not going to start singing because nobody wants that. But I am going to be doing an unboxing of my Severn order. And there are a couple of things for Steve in here. I got a couple of things, and I ordered Steve a couple of things from this order. So we're going to go ahead and kick off the Daily Grindhouse intro, and then we're going to do this unboxing. Steve's excited. Okay, here we go. I hope nobody heard that. Okay. Anyway, Steve's been having gummies.
No.
And I've been having this. Oh, damn, he's got his captain's hat on. Did you take another gummy?
No.
Okay.
Should have.
All right, so I cut this damn tape.
I offered to cut the tape. You have to turn it the other way on its side. And then try to get it because it comes out easier.
Well, you got styrofoam penis.
You got styrofoam everywhere.
Shut up, Steve. Not making fun of him. All right, so I take
this got a little fucking box.
This is Steve's music box from the Psychic, so be very careful with that.
It is made out of cardboard.
No, I think it's made out of cardboard.
Well, look, I killed half the people that was in here.
Oh shit. Okay, well, hey, Undead of Night, you say hi, Dana, in chat. Let's see what you got. So, Steve, be real careful. Don't drop that on the floor because, does it work? Does it actually make music?
It makes beautiful music.
Okay. Don't break it. And that thing costs $15. Now we need to get the movie to go with it. Okay. So, Steve, can you go get me a sack so I can put these damn styrofoam peanuts
in? How about a ball sack, huh?
Steve, you're being gross. Steve's got to go get me something to put these styrofoam peanuts in. I hate these damn things. I wish they put bubble wrap or something in there.
They dissolve in water.
Yeah, didn't we prove that?
Yeah.
One day? Because we wanted to try it out.
You put them in your sink and then let's let the water go on them.
But I don't know how, what kind of chemicals could be going into the ground.
Well, all the water we drink is got, some shit. They took the shit
I got
out.
a Severn sticker too. Ooh, they got Severn Pride stickers, everybody.
It's better than the freaking orange or yellow one. That was like, what the fuck?
Vinegar syndrome will have those.
All
right. So that was just so I could get things out of here. Well, we got 6 in here now.
We're back.
So I love the Changeling.
Love.
This is one of the greatest
exciting and
ghost movies ever made, or supernatural movies, or whatever you want to call it. So Darren will be proud of me. I know Darren's not in here right now.
No, he's at the pub.
No, he's probably doing the show with Dirk. It's Saturday.
At the pub.
No. But anyway, the Changeling on 4K. I'm really looking forward to watching this thing.
Look at that.
There's the original.
Look at that. Who wants some?
Okay. This is also Steve's.
Fuck yeah.
Steve can show that off.
It's the Devil's Game series with Mario Bava's last directed effort.
And it's okay. So here's the Cuda Girl.
What I do with my son? Okay, go ahead.
Here's the Cuda Girl of Fifth Order.
The Boobada.
Nightmare or Nightmares in the Damaged Brain. Look, you can flip it up like this.
Wow,
Romano Scavellini's.
The Marble Scavellini's. They got great lasagna.
Yeah. I think this is actually how you're supposed to have it, but they're upside down.
But yeah, it's really freaking me out.
Okay. And then it's got that the damn kid with the axe and the beheading of the
Mama's a whore.
No, I don't think she was his mama. I think she was.
Tell Mama.
I think she was a dominatrix, or
don't tell Mama that she's a whore.
But anyway, I'm really looking forward to watching Nightmares in the Damaged Brain on 4K.
Again when you stop doing the daily.
No, I don't.
All right.
I play it once. Okay, you can go away now, Steve. Done. Unless you want to watch Pet Sematary.
I'll pass.
But yeah, I hope I'm not, ruining it for anybody that's still waiting for their Severin order that got some of this stuff. Of course, there's the original cover for Nightmare. This is a 3-disc special edition, the never before seen restored version, and 9+ hours of new special features. Now, I will have to get back with you guys and gals in order to see if we can justify the price tag that was on this of $55. I'm thinking now I should have went on and got the novelization, paid an extra $20 or something, and got that novelization. But anyway, that is my unboxing. Rooster, I'll have to tell Steve that you said hi, Captain. Hey, Blissful. And Blissful, I have to tell Steve you said hi, too. But anyway, before I lose anybody, we're going to get to this movie here shortly. Again, if anybody wants to join me, hey, Darren, you are in here. I don't know if you saw me with that, Darren, but I did get the Changeling on 4K. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And then there is the Nightmares in the Damaged Brain 4K as well. And then Steve, of course, you can go back and watch the replay and see us get out Steve's little goodies, the Psychic music box, which it actually does make music, and the Devil's Game he got. Hey, Unseen. So you say you're glad you didn't miss the unboxing. Well, the good thing about these videos or these streams that are recorded, and, unless I take them down or have to take them down for some reason, then you can go back and watch it on the replay. But I'm glad you're here, though, Blissful. Hey, Unseen. Darren. We got Unseen. We got Darren. We got Rooster. Blissful. Don't want to miss anybody in there. Yeah, I'm going to try to watch it soon, Darren, so I can tell everybody how the transfer is. And actually, speaking of transfers, Steve and I did watch the Boogeyman 4K this afternoon, rather. And it looked really, really good. So if you can get your hands on a copy and haven't yet, and you're a fan of that movie, I would say go for it at this point. I think it's definitely worth it. Leslie, you say it's more fun live. Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean because I like to watch other people's stuff live, like some stuff that Dead Pit does and things like that. I like to watch it live. Hey, John, you say, hey, Danny, yeah, I don't know what they do with smoking last night. That was so weird. Sometimes I think these trolls are all the same 1 to 2 people using alts. Well, a funny thing about this guy is I looked him up and he actually does have a channel under the name he was going by on YouTube last night. And he also has a Facebook page and he also has just a regular web page or website or whatever you want to call it. But the strange thing was the guy claims to be a talent agent that books people for movies and conventions and stuff like that. But he wasn't acting like any agent I ever knew of, And if you go to his website, it's filled with pictures that either are blurry and look like he copied them from somewhere else, or um, they're of him with people at conventions and they're doing the pose like this and stuff like that. Sean Clark does his share of like being an agent for people and helping them get booked on the convention stuff. And I don't see Sean Clark doing that kind of stuff. So evidently, this guy is not one, and he's stealing pictures from somewhere or just putting pictures of him up at conventions meeting these people. But he claims to be an agent for almost everybody that was in any Friday the 13th film, for Harry Manfredini, for Pam Grier, for Fred Williamson. Um, and he claims he's an agent for comic people, wrestling people, horror people, um, boxing. I mean, everything you could imagine, he claims to be an agent for some of these people. But when you look at his picture, if that is indeed his picture, he just looks like a young punk. I don't know. Um, I don't know anything about it, but the website looks like a sham to me. But anyways, that's neither here nor there at this point, I guess. X-ray, you say, I used to annoy my ex impersonating the old next door neighbor saying, gotta bury your own back there in the pet cemetery. I'd say it constantly. uh, John, you say, I'm out getting food, but came by a sec. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. You say, sorry, not to dwell on that. It was weird as hell. Trolls are going to troll, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's okay that you brought it up. I mean, I kind of brought it up at the beginning, too. Uh, for Let me just get it out in the open for those of you that weren't on the Dead Pit fan commentary for Summer Park Massacre last night. I'll try to tell it real quick. So we were going along, having a grand old time, and this guy just pops up near the end of it and brings up the last slumber party. Only he called it slumber party. And he said, has anybody ever heard of that? And he said it was filmed in Texas, first off. Honestly, guys and gals, I was under the impression that it was filmed in Oklahoma. It was filmed by the same production company, and stuff like that, and producers that worked on all these other Oklahoma films. I was even so much under the impression that it was, um, that I talked about it on my 8 horrors from Oklahoma. And nobody got bent out of shape or anything when I did that stream. But of course, that guy wasn't there. So he just said that and said it was filmed in Texas. And all I said was, actually, it was filmed in Oklahoma. So then the guy comes back and I don't know what he was smoking. I don't know what he was drinking. But later on, further down in the chat, he said that I got misinformation when I was told it was Texas. And I was like, no, dude, you put that in the chat. I didn't say it. Um, and so we went back and forth. And then some article came up that was supposed to be with the director, and it said Louisiana. I said, okay, so I'm wrong. What in the world does it matter? You know, and the guy accused me of calling him dumb. Um, then he got real nasty, and I never called him dumb, by the way. Uh, then he kept getting more and more nasty. He said, Dana can't stand to be wrong. I've been wrong. I will continue to be wrong in my life. And at first, I was just playing around and yanking the guy's chain because he seemed so serious about this movie. And then when he got nasty, that's when I got a little heated with him because said I couldn't read, I couldn't copy and paste. I was the poster child for birth control. I was birthed under a bird's nest. I was going through menopause and just on, just throwing just various insults at me. And I was like, I didn't ask for this. All I said was I thought I was pretty sure the film was filmed in Oklahoma. If this is a real interview from a real magazine and somebody didn't alter it in any way, then so be it. It was filmed in Louisiana. I mean, but at this point, I don't care. I have fun with The Last Slumber Party. It's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know why this guy just popped in there and started saying stuff. But anyways, there's the story in a nutshell. Blissful, you say, John, some people have several alts. It's disturbing. That is disturbing to me. Ah, thank you, Darren. You said nice update. Yeah, X-ray. There was at least one troll last night. He say it was probably Tony Moran's agent. Could be. Uh, hey, TJ. TJ says, hey, gang, we ready to see some child truck slaughter? Oh, my. Well, that's unfortunately going to be included. Cool Duder's agent. Does Cool Duder even have an agent? I guess maybe he does. Yeah, I mean, Blissful, it truly looked homemade, didn't look professional in by any stretch of the imagination. So I couldn't imagine these famous actors and actresses, even if they haven't done anything for a while, uh, wanting to be represented by this guy. John, you say he can go eat a shit sandwich, boss. You don't mess with the Pitt family. Evidently, Uncle Bill called him a cocksucker at one point, and I was so, you know, it makes me not want to look at the chat, and I hate that because I like to interact with the chat, whether I'm on my stream or whether I'm on somebody else's stream, because usually you don't have any problem because usually it's just the regulars, and if it is new people, they don't cause problems like that. Make sure you say, hey, Dana, are we going to discuss your preference for the right size snake tonight? No, no snake talk tonight. Sorry, X-ray. You say, we know how much you like the right size. X-ray, you say, gonna be honest, Dana, geek car shit, the kind we all like, tends to also attract weird autismo types who are pedantic about everything. Yeah, I mean, I get that, and I don't, and it doesn't matter really whether the guy was booted or not. Um, CK pretty much holds the reins as far as that, and he can do anything he wants. And I'm not blaming CK at all about for it, and certainly not blaming Uncle Bill for it. It was solely this guy's fault in there that came in there and uh, started shit with me for no apparent reason other than, he just wanted to. Um, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately that element is out there. And with the digital age and all this stuff and everything expanding and blowing up, and more people being on YouTube, and more people being on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and TikTok or whatever outlet you use. Unfortunately, everybody at some point in time is going to have to deal with this. So if the guy tries to come in my streams, he's getting booted because I'm sick of him. If he comes back into a stream I'm on with Dead Pit, then I'm just going to ignore him. Because to tell you the honest truth, I didn't really feel bad right when we were in the middle of it and even right after it. Because Uncle Bill was checking in with me to see if I was okay because I guess he thought I might have got stressed by the whole thing. But it had actually hit me a little later and I got a pounding headache. I think my blood sugar dropped and, I had to eat a little bit more. I had to get some sugar in me. I had to get drink some kind of juice drink to get some sugar in me. And then eventually my headache got better, but I felt like shit real late. I didn't get to sleep until 2:33 in the morning, and then I got up by 9:30 this morning, um, and just felt like shit for the first part of the morning. But then I got to feeling a little bit better. So, hence me being able to do this watch along tonight. Darren, you said that was crazy last night. Just watched it a few minutes ago. Yeah, and that came all at the end of the stream too. Bliss, you say he's probably mad his mommy made him wash dishes. I have no idea, John. I mean, that didn't really bother me. It was the part where he said I was the poster child for birth control. Like I was just a complete uh, moron, I'm not going to get into un-PC terms on here, but yeah, she said, what in the hell does that mean? Born under a bird's nest? What a wacko. Hey, Sean. Sean says, hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. TJ, you say, damn, I left too early watching the stream. LOL. What a dick. Yeah, he was pretty much a dick, TJ. Yeah, I didn't think you were in there at that point in time. Some people had probably already dropped out by that point in time. But anyway, onward and upward. John, you say, yeah, I wouldn't sweat it. These morons are just reaching for stuff. Nobody here thinks that about you. Well, yeah, I know. And that's what makes it all good. Because if my people that I thought of as friends thought that about me, it would be worse. It would be, that would be devastating to me. But some stranger that I've never met in my life, I don't give a shit what that guy thinks. And he can come back 10 million times over for in Dead Pit streams. And I'm not in every Dead Pit stream. I come in, a few of them when I'm asked if I want to come on. And nothing like that has ever happened. I mean, there was something that happened in one of my streams, which I'm not going to rehash, but I just, right or wrong, I just block people when they get on my nerves and try to start shit in my own streams. But I can't tell somebody else what to do with their streams. So if the guy comes in there again and I'm on a Dead Pit stream, I'm just going to ignore his ass. If I see him in the chat, I'm not gonna take the bait because that's what they want you to do. But anyway, like I said, onward and upward. So we're gonna have the Pet Sematary watch along tonight, and this is for the original 1989 Pet Sematary. I did watch the remake. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. This is the one Pet Sematary for me. And the only Pet Sematary for me. But if some of you guys and gals out there like the remake, then I'm not going to say, "Oh, you're stupid for liking it," because that's definitely not the right attitude to have, and I don't think people are stupid for liking remakes. But that is one remake that I don't like, but I do like the original. We're going to talk about it all, including the creepy ass Zelda in this. And for those of you that have never seen Pet Sematary, you are in for one wild ride. I'll just warn you right now. Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says, please hit the thumbs up. Thank you. But for those of you that don't have your own copy of this, I was not able to find a for free version. However, you can rent it for I think about $3 or $3.99 from Amazon Prime, or you can buy or rent it from YouTube as well. So there's a couple of options for those of you that don't have your own copy that want to follow along. And so let me also let you guys and gals know where I'm queued up. I'm queued up about 10 seconds in on the Blu-ray. It's just getting ready to start the Paramount logo. The stars are getting ready to come in and start circling. So I'm going to give everybody a little bit that is going to be watching this movie tonight a couple of minutes to get queued up, and then we're going to get this party started. And again, Sammy's acting crazy again. I have the link to join me live on the stream in case somebody wants to come in here and join me live on the stream. Guys, I'm not going to do this tonight with y'all going in and out and the barking and the carrying on. This is going to be the last time Reggie goes out.
Reg.
This is the wrong time to let him out, too. Because we have a crazy neighbor dog. But, so if anybody either needs me to put the link back in the chat, if it gets lost in the chat, and you want to join me later on, you don't have to decide now. Now, if it's 30 seconds before the movie's over, I wouldn't suggest it because you're not going to get to be on here very long. If you want to talk about the movie, you want to be in here for the majority of it. But this is 102 minutes, so it's not like super, super long. It's not like 2.5 hours long. But it is a little bit longer than some of them I've done. So just a little caveat there. Yeah, that's right, Blissful. Sammy the Wild Child. John, you say my dog has had bad kennel cough virus all week. Oh, poor baby. Reggie actually had kennel cough when we got him and or when we adopted him, and we had to give him medication for I don't know, a week or two. And yeah, it's rough. I felt so bad for Reggie. You say you haven't been on much besides last night. He's doing okay now. Yeah. Yeah. I guess Reggie, thankfully, has been the only one that has had it. And he had it when we first got him. And then, with the medication, it got cleared up. Oh, bless. I mean, I don't think of kennel cough as something that's like a life or death thing, but it is pitiful to watch your dog have it because they just hack and hack and hack. You say you're a new dog owner and going through his first tummy issue today. Oh, bless his heart. If you have a dog for any length of time, you're going to see many tummy issues. One or more of my dogs is always spitting up or throwing up or whatever. But guys and gals, I'm burning up. I told Steve it's hot as I don't know what back here in this room. You just feel like you're in a freaking oven. But so who all's going to be watching along with the not necessarily coming in live on the stream, but who all's going to be watching along with this tonight? Hopefully somebody is. Oh, I did while we're waiting. Blissful, you'll say you'll be listening. Okay, that's cool. Um, Steve introduced me to a shot on video film that's been very obscure for a long time. And that Visual Vengeance Company is putting or has already put this out on Blu ray. And, but keep in mind, these are shot on video films and they're pulled directly from a VHS tape. So you've got tracking issues all over the damn place with these. Even though they're put on a Blu-ray, it doesn't matter. It's still going to look like shit. However, Amazon does have it. It's called Slaughter Day, and it's like a Evil Dead type of movie. It's not very long. I am going to be buying a copy here soon on uh, Blu-ray from Amazon. But I just wanted to tell y'all that is definitely going to be a watch along at some point that I'm going to do because that movie was just too much fun. And I think it'd make a perfect watch along. So be aware that that's going to be coming up at some point. So I'm going to give it about another minute and then we'll go ahead and get started. So, speak now or forever hold your peace. If you need me to hold off a little longer before I start doing the countdown, we'll get this started. If anybody comes in about partway through the film and needs a timestamp or anything, or even people in here, if you've gotten ahead or behind and you like, hey, Dana, what's your timestamp? I'll be glad to give it to you. And if anybody wants to join live on the stream later that either is in here now or that comes in later, feel free to ask me if you want me to put that link back in the chat so you don't have to go hunting for it. So we are going to get started about 7:36 with this movie. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back up. All right. So it is 7:36. So let's get this party started. Hey, movie in a flannel shirt. You say I'm listening at work. Cool. Excuse me. So here we go with the countdown. 3, 2, 1. Press play. Now we got the Paramount logos going round and round. I got to make sure my subtitles are on here. Yeah. They finally quit putting Japanese, almost said Spanish, Japanese subtitles by default on these. I don't know what was going on there. Yes, John, you are right. George Romero did get real close to making this movie. But I think since he couldn't or didn't end up doing it, I think Mary Lambert was a very good choice. I think, some parts of this movie, when I watched it for the first time in 89, which I would have been, 13? I think the stuff about the animal deaths and stuff, I think at that age, that really hit me hard. Probably harder than them talking about the people deaths. And, 13 is not so young that you don't understand about Gage getting killed in the road and stuff. But I think the dog and cat and all that stuff, seeing these collars on the graves and stuff like that, and it even hits me now because, as I've gotten older and had more animals over the years that have, unfortunately, they're going to pass away at some point in time. This stuff, this whole panning over the actual pet cemetery and seeing the collars and the leashes and everything on these crosses and these crude gravestones that kids have made over the years. Movie the flannel shirt, you say you saw me on Dead Pit last night for the commentary. Did you see the fiasco that happened like near the end of the commentary? Oh boy. This, by the way, this looks really good on a 4K, but that's not what I'm watching because I don't have the ability to watch the 4K back here where the computers are at. But it really does look like great on the Blu-ray as well. Hey guys, I may be taking some puffs off of this because after last night, I just want to be mellow as hell. Um, Not that I think anybody's going to come in here and start anything, but if you see me puffing on it, just pay it no mind. That's a good question, John. I'm not really sure. I certainly think it's possible. You say you think the Pascal character was inspired by Griffin Dunn in American Werewolf in London. It was 1981, so maybe 2 years prior to book. It just made you think of it. Yeah, I think that's very interesting. And I'm not going to say it's not possible. Thank you, Blissful. You say you do what you need to. No judgment here. Though, the one thing that did annoy me, and I don't completely hate the twin girls that played uh, the little girl's character, uh, Ellie. I don't hate the acting. It's just like that character seemed a little bit annoying. And keep in mind there were twins playing this character. It's odd because twins were playing the older character, but there was only one kid playing Gage. And usually when it's infants or toddlers or whatever, usually they definitely use twins. Like, for instance, here, I mean, I know she fell off the rope swing and everything, but she's like, Mommy, Daddy, it hurts. Sometimes kids are annoying as hell in movies. And Dale Midkiff, who plays Lewis Creed here, um, is like, he's an amazing actor. But I think this is probably one of the favorite performances that I've seen him do because he really, there's some foreshadowing there. He really is able to pull that off, the part of the loving father, the loving husband, the guy that would do anything for his kids. And there's the incredible Fred Gwynn, too, by the way, who is Judd Crandall is just amazing in here. Amazing. I couldn't imagine anybody else playing Judd Crandall's character other than Fred Gwynn. I believe John Lithgow covered that role in the remake, and I love John Lithgow, but he's no Judd Crandall. I'm sorry. And maybe because of after years of watching Fred Gwynn in this role, I just can't imagine anybody else doing it. Even every few years when I go back and reread the Pet Sematary book, now I see Fred Gwynn as Judd Crandall in the book as well. I'm envisioning in my mind. But going back to Dale Midkiff, I have seen him. I don't know how many of you have watched A Cry for Help, the Tracy Thurman story. If you want to see him play, Dale Midkiff play a very evil character, that is it. Um, I have never seen him so evil, but somebody that can play a very good man. uh, and can turn around and be a very evil man in a totally different movie. Um, that's just amazing. But I hate him in A Cry for Help, because that is based on a true story. Buck Thurman was a real person. Tracy Thurman was a real person, and man, you can really believe that Dale Midkiff is Buck Thurman in that. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I mean, some people might not want to watch a movie where a guy essentially abuses his wife, threatens his wife, punches her in the stomach whenever tells him she's pregnant, uh, nearly stabs her to death in front of the community, jumps on top of her and screaming at the top of his lungs and just insane acting. Um, but that's a mark of an incredible actor. That somebody that can just, you know, thank God they can turn it on and off. They can turn it on. They can turn on the crazy when they need to for a movie. They can dial it back and be as normal as pie, which I'm sure that's how Dale Midkiff is really. He's normal, at least until the shit hits the fan on this movie. John, you say, oh, yeah, I recall that movie. I think he's the jerk boyfriend in Love Potion #9, right? I think he is, John, come to think of it. Now, something that resonates more with me now than it did when I was 13 is the Rinko trucks that they talk about. Because I used to live out in the sticks out in the country, and there used to be what we would refer to as coal trucks. And those things would run you off the road. I think they ran over animals. And you hear Judd say those damn Marinko trucks go up and down the road all day and all night. And it's that road's used up a lot of animals. And, that's the way I felt about those coal trucks. That's the way my parents felt about them. We hated the fact that they were out there all the time, out in the country where my parents' house is. And so once when I was little and my mom was pregnant with my brother, one of those damn coal trucks ran my mom completely off the road. She had to hit a ditch or he was going to run over and would have killed us all, basically. Um, but I remember, briefly, because I was young, flying into the floorboard. I think I was coloring with crayons or something, and everything just went in the floorboard. Plus, my mom could have, went into premature labor early. Thank God she didn't. But I think it was at that point that my mom and dad both went to the courthouse in town, and there was a big meeting about these trucks. And my parents weren't the only ones that were complaining about the speed of these trucks on those country roads. And so, they slowed down for a little bit, and thank God there's no longer a need for them. I don't want people to be put out of work, but they were just a menace. Those truck drivers were a menace. I'll just say that. So now Judd's telling them about the Pet Cemetery because Ellie had wanted to know where the path that she saw when they moved in, where it went. And so Judd is finally getting around to telling them the story, and he's taking them to the Pet Cemetery. So you see Rachel, Lewis's wife, reacting very strongly to the idea of death. And she said, this is a graveyard built by broken-hearted children. How can you call it a good thing? And Judd ends up saying to her, well, they got to learn about death somehow, don't they, Mrs. Creed? And that's when she says, why? And he gives Lewis a look like, what in the world? So we're gonna find out here shortly why Rachel is like this. Guys, I'm gonna step away for just a second. I think one of the dogs wants to come in. Reggie. Reggie. I thought he did. I know I wasn't crazy. I know uh, there was something at the back door, and I thought it was Reggie. Well, that's what you say. He's been in a lot of TV movies. I like his acting. I do too. He was in a very weird film a long time ago called Nightmare Weekend as well. And, he was good in it, but that movie is just bizarre. I think Steve has it now. Now Reggie comes back. Sorry, guys. Okay. Come on. So, I remember this hitting me as a kid as well when Ellie is crying over church. And, what kid hasn't thought that? When she cries and tells her daddy, she says, he's not God's cat, he's my cat. And, yeah, just heartbreaking. So Ellie's nervous about going to school in a new town. And then she says, I don't want church to get his nuts cut, Daddy. And they're like, where did you hear that? And she says, Missy Dandridge. And Missy Dandridge is, of course, their housekeeper. Um, so this is where Rachel forces Lewis to give Ellie a promise that church will be all right. But being a medical professional himself, he knows that anything could happen while church is under the knife, basically. Hey, Wes, you say, hey, all, I'm going to watch the whole show later. The girl who played Ellie does a goddamn terrible job in this. I wonder if this was like her only film, LOL. Actually, that it was played by twins. And now that I've watched this a bunch of times and know that they're twins, um, I I can tell sometimes when they have switched to the other twin. And but the way they list her name or their names in the credits, they mention both of their first names and then Birdall, I believe, which is their last name. So here's kind of a little extended introduction to Missy Dandridge. And I think this actress does a really good job. And Lewis says, thank you, Missy, for introducing that colorful phrase into my daughter's vocabulary. And she says, don't mention it. And I love the fact that these people that are supposed to be from Maine and actually weren't, the majority of them were not from Maine. This was actually filmed in Maine. Not very far from Stephen King's actual house, I believe. But they were able to adopt that Maine, dialect, basically, in the same way that Kathy Bates did it for Dolores Claiborne. It's just amazing how some people can just, They get a good dialogue coach or a great dialogue coach, and they're able to just adopt it for the purposes of the film. Okay, so now here's our introduction, albeit he's pretty much dead at this point, to Pascal. But this is even though he's going to walk around in ghostly form during the majority of this film with his brain showing, I still feel like this is one of the most beloved characters um, in in Stephen King's novels. I mean, there are others, but I think he also injects a little humor, which I think this film needs because otherwise it would be so dark. And Pascal is also an important part of the book as well. And there is, by the way, a documentary called Unearthed and Untold, The Path to Pet Sematary, which is an amazing documentary. I probably have talked about it on other streams as well. But I highly recommend, if you can find it for a free version, I'm not going to say just go out and buy it. But if you can find it for a free version, I was trying to think what it may have been on. I don't know if it was on Shutter or Tubi or one of those things, but I would definitely say seek it out. So Pascal is saying, "I'll come to you," and he's calling him by his name, Lewis, and he's like, "How'd you know my name?" So then he's back to being dead again. But never fear, Pascal is going to show up quite a few more times in this film. Yeah, TJ, Pascal and his tiny shorts, LOL for eternity. So Pascal is actually, I believe, going to show up right here. And I think that Lewis thinks he's having a dream until the next morning when he wakes up. And we're going to see that scene here. I love this. Come on, Doc. We've got places to go. I mean, it's creepy and it's endearing and funny all at the same time. So, see, you cannot ignore the spirits in these movies because they are ever present. So he's telling him, "I want to help you because, Lewis, because you tried to help me." What's funny is his PJs look like doctor scrubs, basically. So I don't know if he just like sleeps in some doctor scrubs because they're comfortable or what. And he even says, "I gotta be dreaming," or "I gotta wake up," or something. And Pascal puts a hand on his shoulder and says, "Who says you're dreaming?" Absolutely love the atmosphere in this film too. I just don't think the remake had this atmosphere. And it had things in it that I just didn't get. I didn't get why they were in there. Maybe they were trying to make things a little different, and they certainly did, but in my opinion, not in a good way. So they're in the pet cemetery, and Pascal has said, "This is the place where the dead speak." And he says, "Don't go on, Doc. No matter how much you may feel you have to, do not go to the place where the dead walk." And he points to this deadfall, and you see a light going through. Lewis is understandably nervous, and he's saying, "I just want to wake up." And Pascal's floating away. And I guess Lewis is feeling guilt. He's saying, "It's not my fault that you died. You were as good as dead when they brought you in." Um, all the while, Pascal's telling him the ground beyond is sour. Good question, TJ. You say, so if Judd didn't talk about the cemetery, then would Pascal have visited Lewis, or is Pascal making it worse by basically taunting Lewis with talk of evil? You know, I think there's a scene later where Judd says, and I'm going to give something away. So if you haven't seen this, you might want to play yours. There's all the mud and stuff on, and he knows it's not a dream now. Where basically Judd says, "I may have murdered your son, Lewis, because I introduced you to the power." So I think by Judd even mentioning the pet cemetery, that caused Pascal to get killed. But then once he got killed, I think Pascal felt an obligation from beyond, I guess, to keep Lewis from doing what unfortunately he ends up doing. I mean, he's trying to warn him right here, but to no avail, as we're going to see here soon. So evidently, Rachel and Ellie and Gage are going to go to her parents for Thanksgiving. And Rachel's like, "I don't like you hanging around here by yourself." Um, and she says, "Well, Thanksgiving's a family holiday, Lewis." And he says, "Well, as far as your father's concerned, I'm never going to be family. And I don't think he wants me around." And she said, "But I want you around." But he's trying to be the good husband. And he knows that there's friction when he's around her parents. And so that's why he's agreeing to stay home, and she's going to Chicago to visit her parents. Okay. So unfortunately, this is where Church is going to end up dead. And this is a heartbreaking scene too. Um, because how many of us have dealt with this exact same thing? Not necessarily on the scale that they've got run over in the road. I did actually have a cat, Shyler, who got run over in the road. And it was many, many years after I'd seen and read Pet Sematary. But my poor cat was not frozen, but that the way that cat looks, I asked to see my cat. My mom unfortunately found her dead in the road and had to pick her up, put her in the back of the vehicle and bring her home, and then tell me, "Dana, your cat got run over in the road." And I said, "Of course, I want to see Shower. I want to see my cat." And so as I got older, these certain scenes hit me more because I was getting more of these experiences. Okay. And so, not trying to bum anybody out, but I just like to, go, give a little personal slant on some of these things. Okay. So, at first, Lewis thinks they're going to bury Church in the pet cemetery with the other animals. But Judd's got another idea. He's like, you know, we're going to go over this deadfall. And he tells Lewis, he says, move easy, don't look down, and don't stop. He says, if you stop, you'll crash through for sure. So Lewis is going to, even though he thinks this is a foolish venture, you know, I guess he's kind of intrigued. Where is Judd taking him? And so, unfortunately, Lewis just fell there. He says, and don't look down, right? Guys and gals, I hate to, but I've got to run to the restroom. So I'm going to take myself momentarily out of here. Y'all keep watching the movie, and I will be right back. All right, I am back, everybody. So, didn't really miss anything while I was gone, and I did stop and talk to Steve for a second. So, this is where Judd tells Lewis, you bury your own. So, you know, after they get up there, he's basically sitting down for a smoke, and Lewis is digging the grave for Ellie's cat. You know, you guys and gals are probably going to think that's pretty gruesome, but back when I was a senior in high school, I had advanced biology, and we all got cats to dissect. I mean, these were cats that came from a place that supplies them to schools and colleges and stuff. And, you know, I wouldn't want to do it much now, but I was a lot younger. Probably wouldn't want to do it at all now, but I was much younger then, wasn't yet 20 yet. And when you work on a and I'm not trying to gross anybody out, but when you work on a cat, like cutting into it and it was frozen when you started or whatever, and you end up having to take the hide off of it and stuff like that, it, I hate to say it, but it starts to become less of an animal and more of, I guess, what it's supposed to be, a visual aid. But everybody named their cats. Each group had a cat, and we named ours Church. My group named ours Church after the cat on this film. And I just lost one person talking about dead cats, I guess. So now Judd is telling Lewis that that's the Micmac Indian burial ground. And he said, and, he basically says when he talks to Rachel, not a word about what we did. And, Lewis is basically, what did we do, Judd? So Lewis missed a call. This is back in the days before cell phones were popular with everybody and all that stuff. So he missed a call, and he's calling them back, calling his in-laws' house, and he's talking to Ellie. And then she said, "How's church, Daddy? Does he miss me?" And he lies and says, "I haven't seen him this evening, Ellie, so I guess he's just fine." And she says, "And kiss him good night for me." And he says, "Yuck, kiss your own cat." And you can tell that this is just killing Lewis. So then she says, "Want to talk to Gage." This is absolutely the cutest little boy ever. Wow, which is in a scene coming up is so utterly horrifying. So I think Church is going to make his reappearance here. There he is. And you can actually see the garbage bag still in Church's teeth. So once Lewis gets over the shock, he's of course got some cat food to lure Church out, and he sees the trash bag in the cat's teeth and stuff, and he's like, "Oh my God, he chewed his way out." So he assumes that he wasn't dead, that he buried him when he was still alive. And then the cat claws him here and runs away. Come really close to his eye, too. So now he's going to talk it over with Judd with a couple of beers here. He says, "I'm trying to tell myself that I buried him alive." He says, "I'm not a vet." And Judd says, "But his head swiveled on his neck like it was full of ball bearings. When you moved him, he pulled out of the frost, Lewis." And he says, "A lot of things don't do that. And we know that. Lewis knows that. Judd knows that. The entire audience watching this knows that." So Judd is going to tell one of the first stories. So we're going to go back in the past to when Judd was a boy, and he said the rag man told him about the place, and he talks about his dog Spot, and he got caught in some barbed wire and it got infected, and Spot died. And so he ended up burying him in the Micmac Indian burial ground. And as you can see there, Judd's dog come back. His mother said, "Judd, come and get your dog. He stinks of the ground you buried him in." So when he died peacefully in the night the second time, I buried him up there in the pet cemetery where, as you saw, his bones still lie. These are some great um, bits of dialogue here. And again, I could not imagine anybody delivering these lines other than Fred Gwynn. So Lewis asked the inevitable question: has anybody ever buried a person up there? And Judd just loses and he says, Christ on his throne, no, and whoever would. But as we're going to find out a little bit later, Judd's going to have no choice but to tell Lewis the tale of a human that was buried up in the Micmac Indian burial ground. So we're going to see a second uh, appearance of Church here after he's come back from the dead. And I know a lot of these scares like this were essentially jump scares, but they are very effective. And I think they really set us up for the real deep, dark scares, the kind that stick with you. They're setting us up for those. These are the popcorn scares. These are the fun scares. You know what I mean? And then we're going to get to the scares that are hard to get rid of even hours after, or days or whatever after you've seen this movie. So Church just dropped a dead rat in Lewis's bath water, and he's not happy. So the family's coming back home. And so the big reason why Stephen King wrote about the cat and everything, and a father having to not want to explain to his daughter uh, that the cat died. His Stephen King's own daughter had a cat named Smucky, which, if you notice, that one of the graves in the pet cemetery has Smucky on it. But his daughter, Naomi, when she was a little girl, she had a cat named Smucky who did get run over in the road. And how Stephen King had to wrestle with how is he going to tell his daughter that her beloved cat was dead. And so, hence, stuff like this would come out in his books. So Ellie's asking if cats can have shampoos. And her mom tells her it's pretty expensive. And she says, I don't care. I'll save up for my allowance and pay for it. She says, Church smells bad. And he says, I'll cough up the money, Ellen. So essentially, that, I guess, is the smell of death. So here is another very dark scene. We saw a couple, 2, 3 scenes with Missy Dandridge. And if you looked at the note there, um, evidently she's found out she's got cancer. She was having stomach pain, so evidently she's got cancer and she can't face it. And so she's going to commit suicide. And if you watch Unearthed and Untold, this actress that plays Missy Dandridge, how she set herself up for this scene is just absolutely amazing. That's a very, I mean, any kind of suicide in a film is disturbing, but they show a little more. This was another scene that I guess for whatever reason I didn't pay attention to as much when I was a kid. I pay attention to it more now. And there is Mr. Stephen King playing the priest at Missy Dandridge's funeral. And we're soon going to be coming up on the first several Zelda scenes. And all I can say is if you have not seen Pet Cemetery before, or maybe if you haven't even read the book, get ready for this because this is the creep fest to end all creep fest, really. Okay. Um, and I'm going to wait till it actually gets to it before I start talking about it more. I just can't understand why people would say this is not a well acted and well, explored version, of the book. I mean, I don't know, it's amazing. People have said that, like, Denise Crosby, I guess, and Dale Midkiff and all these people are not good actors and actresses. So here's where Rachel, unfortunately, is going to hear Ellie and Lewis talking about death. And Ellie's asking the question that most kids end up asking when they're faced with death. And she says, "Do you think Missy Dandridge went to heaven?" And so her dad says, "Some people believe in heaven or hell. Some people think we come back as little children. Some people think we just wink out like a candle flame when the wind blows hard." And she says, "Do you believe that?" And he looks at Church and he says, "No." He says, "I think we go on." And he says, "Yeah, I have faith in that." And she says, "You believe in it." And see, and that's one of the things when I get the feeling that Ellie is a daddy's girl. And I was always a daddy's girl. And when daddy says certain things, it makes everything all right, doesn't it? And the same for girls that are mama's girls and they're really close to their mothers. Or even boys that are close to their mothers. I'm not going to say that's wrong. So now Rachel is saying, "I just get scared when these kind of things come up." And she says, "And you know me, when I get scared, I get defensive." And he says, "Scared of what? Dying?" And then she says, "My sister Zelda," he says, "I know she died spinal meningitis." And Rachel says she was in the back bedroom like a dirty secret. So here we're going to another flashback. She says, my sister died in that back bedroom, and that's what she was, a dirty secret. And the first time I saw this scene, and that is a guy, by the way, playing Zelda. So her parents, for whatever reason, left her alone to take care of a very sick sibling. And she says, "We all wanted her to die. It was because she started to look like this monster." And she said, "Even now, I wake up and think, is Zelda dead yet? Is she?" And she says, "My parents were gone when she died." And if you or guys are listening to the dialogue, the voice of Zelda is, ooh. So her sister started to choke and convulse. And there was really nothing Rachel could do, especially as a child. But in her mind, she was saying, they'll say, "You hated her, Rachel." And she says, and that was true. And they'll say, "You wanted her to be dead." And that was true too. But she thought in her little girl mind that they were going to say that she murdered Zelda. So then she says, "I started to scream, 'Zelda's dead, Zelda's dead.'" And the neighbors, they came out and they looked. And she said, "They thought I was crying. But you know something? I think maybe I was laughing." Bless you say I was a total daddy's girl. Bless you. The bless you, I'm sure, was for the sneeze. Thank you so much. He says, and if I ever needed another reason not to like your mother and father, I have one now. And he makes perfect sense. You should never have been left alone with her, Rachel. Never. Where was a nurse? They went and left an 8-year-old kid in charge of her dying sister, who was probably clinically insane by then. And he makes a lot of a lot of sense. So Lewis is going to get her a Valium, and she's like, Lewis, you know I don't. And he said, tonight you do. Okay. So, guys and gals, what could be worse on the heels of that Zelda scene? We're having the scene coming up. Just warning you now. Those very sensitive to scenes of a child getting killed and the immediate aftermath, you might want to leave the room. And I'm not kidding. This scene still bothers me to this day. But if I'm invested in watching the movie, me personally, I want to watch it all. And this was another scene that didn't stick with me when I was a kid, when I was 13 years old. But now that I'm an adult, it definitely resonates with me all over the place. So they're flying a kite. Lewis is letting Gage fly the kite. Ellie's wanting to fly it. So, they're thinking like a lot of parents would think, he's very far from the road. He's not going to get close to the road. So Gage dropped it. And Ellie says it got away from him, that numb shit. And he looks at his daddy and he says, I dropped it. Lewis turns away for a second. Gage is fascinated with the kite, which is kind of flying away from him. And he gets too close to the damn road. Judd sees it a little too late and he says, get him, Lewis, Rachel's saying, get him, Lewis, get the baby. This is so tense. This is so tense. Gage is not going to stop. This guy is going way too fast. This child was never in real danger because it was done with mirrors. But you see that one shoe with blood on it. You see the truck turned over and the slow scream coming out of Lewis. And the pictures flashing of when Gage was born and probably his first birthday. And then it fades into Lewis looking at pictures of Gage. Man, I'm glad that scene is over because that scene just kills me every time. It doesn't scare me. It's heartbreaking. It's very, very hard to watch. And you don't really, you see that split second of what looks like Gage in the road. You see the driver trying to put on his brakes and then the shoe flying up in the air, the truck overturned, and then Lewis's scream. And that's enough. That is enough. You don't need anything else. Your mind can fill in all the blanks there. So Judd's asking about the picture that Ellie's got. And he's trying to make her feel better. Ain't that real nice, you pulling him in the wagon? Bet he liked that, didn't he? And then Ellie says, I'm going to carry his picture, Mr. Crandall, until God lets Gage come back. And he says, Ellie, God doesn't do things like that. And he's looking at Lewis the whole time. And Ellie says he can if he wants to. She said, I have to keep his things waiting for him. She said, that's what I think. she said, I've got his picture and I'm going to sit in his chair. And then Lewis says, Ellie. And that's all he has to say. And she goes and throws herself on the couch and starts crying. Judd says, Lewis, take care of your little girl. She needs you. And he's trying to keep Lewis from thinking what he knows he's going to think. And this is even worse. This is the topper. The father starts an argument here in the middle of the funeral. The little casket is there, and his father-in-law is saying, I hope you rot in hell, you stinking shit, you killer of children. Rachel comes in at that moment and sees this. He's kicking Lewis. This is the most devastating thing that could possibly happen. Then Gage's casket gets knocked off. You see one little flash of his little arm. And so Lewis is having to be restrained by a friend and colleague of his who says, get a hold of yourself, Lewis. It's your son's funeral. Hey, old curly jaws, you said the creepy woman ladies gets me. Yeah, if you're talking about Zelda, that is actually played by a man or a boy at the time, which makes it all the more creepy. And so Ellie says God could take it back if he wanted to, couldn't he? And she says, can I have faith in that? To which Lewis says, yes, I suppose you can. That's right, TJ. So Gage grows up to be Heather Langenkamp's son in New Nightmare. Less cute, LOL. Oh, Curly Jaws, you say, who would you rather face, Jason or that creepy lady from Pet Sematary? I think I would rather face Jason. Oh, Curly Jaws, honestly. Zelda creeps me the hell out. So there's Church with his ever glowing eyes, to which Lewis says, fuck off, hairball. I didn't think New Nightmare was that bad, actually, old Curly Jaws. But again, to each his own. So this is where Lewis and Judd are going to have the talk. And Lewis says, Judd, I buried my son today. I'm very tired. I wonder if we could just. And Judd cuts him off and says, you're thinking thoughts best not thought of, Lewis. He says, I'm thinking about going to bed. He says, I'm responsible for more pain than you should have tonight. For all I know, I may even be responsible for the deaths of your son. And Lewis is like, what? What? You're talking crazy talk, Judd. What are you talking about? I did like Pet Sematary 2 on a whole different level, oh, Girly Jaws, just because of how outrageous and over the top that movie is. So now he lied when he said nobody's ever buried him. a person up in the Micmac Indian burial ground. He said, I lied to you when I said no, it's been done. What you've been thinking of has been done. So then we get another flashback that's supposed to take place towards the end of the Second World War. He talks about Timmy Baderman, who was killed on his way home from the Second World War. His father, was so grief stricken that he ended up burying his son up there before he ever had a chance to get to the bottom of the truth. And Lewis says, I'll bite Judd. What's the bottom of the truth? And that's when he said, well, sometimes dead is better. And I can't say it in that wonderful accent. He says, the person you put up there is not the person that comes back. It may look like that person, but it ain't that person. Because whatever lives in the ground beyond the pet cemetery ain't human at all. So he says 4 or 5 days after Timmy's funeral, Margie Washburn saw Timmy walking up the road. And then lots of folks saw Timmy, walking around the community. And then Margie came to the men folk and told them that it had to be stopped. He says she knew it was an abomination. So basically, Judd is like the lone voice of reason in this story, because he wants them to wait until they can get Bill out of the house safely. But the other guys are basically a lynch mob type, and they just want to burn the house down. Judd is pleading with Bill, and Judd is saying, wait a minute, fellows. And he's saying, he's a monster, Bill. And he says, leave us alone. He's my son. Uh, so basically, Timmy, or what Timmy has become, he wants his father to die with him. And Judd says again, sometimes dead is better. He says the Indians knew that. That's why they stopped using that burial ground. He says the place will get a hold of you, but it's evil. And then again, he says sometimes dead is better, which became the tagline for this movie. This is when Judd says, I'm saying the place might have made Gage die because I introduced you to the power. And that's what I was talking about with Paxcal earlier. For perhaps the place made Paxcal die in order to set some things in motion. So Rachel and Ellie are going back to Chicago to spend some time with their parents. And Ellie's saying, I don't want to go to Chicago because I had a bad dream last night. And she said about Daddy and Gage and someone named Paxcal. So I don't know how somebody could even begin to apologize to somebody for what they done. But I guess Rachel's father tries to. That's a very cold handshake there, by the way. Oh, Curly Jaws, you say, I would like to see how the Pet Cemetery became a thing, like how it became the Pet Cemetery. I like to see a prequel to the original film. Now, a prequel probably would have been a better idea than a sequel. Or, not a sequel, a remake, rather. Yeah, I don't know, TJ. You say, why the heck didn't Rachel disown her dad after the funeral? He's garbage. Yeah, I don't know who in their right mind will get into a knockdown, drag out fight with her son in law at the funeral for their grandson. I mean, that's just insane. So we all know what Lewis is going to do, right? He's going to dig up poor Gage and bury him in the Micmac Indian burial ground. And he's trying to reason with himself and Gage, too, to some extent. He said, what happened to you is wrong. Pascal comes back again and says, remember, Doc, the barrier was not meant to be crossed. The ground is sour. And Lewis starts to cry at this point. He says, if it doesn't work, he's still trying to reason with himself. He says, if he comes back and he's like Judd said Timmy Bayerman was, I'll just put him back to sleep. But that's all easier said than done, right? He says, nobody has to know about it. Rachel and Nellie don't ever have to know. So Ellie's having another one of her nightmares. Yeah, exactly, TJ, the white trashiest. So Rachel's trying to comfort Ellie. And Ellie said it wasn't a dream, it was Pascal. Pascal says Daddy's going to do something really bad. And Rachel wants to know, is Pascal, like the boogeyman? And she says, no, he's a ghost. He's a good ghost, sent to warn us. And she's trying to say discorporated when his soul was discorporated and her daddy was there. And she's like, where do I remember the name Pascal? And then he says, Pascal. And then Pascal fills in the blanks, discorporated. And then Rachel, something, in her brain there. And Lewis is still at it. And we know this could not come to a good end, right? So I think Rachel's parents think she's kind of, flipped her wig a little bit. Because her mother's saying, he probably went out for a hamburger or a chicken dinner, dear. So now she's going to call Judd. And she wants to know if Lewis is with him. Or no, I think he asked if Lewis was with her. And then she said, I just thought he might be with you. But you can tell Judd is worried. And she says, don't bother, Judd. I'm coming home. And he doesn't want her to come home. He knows that that's bad. But Rachel's already hung up. So the cops are cruising around. So basically, Lewis is going to duck and cover there. And so I guess when they shine that flashlight there, it just looks like a grave that hasn't been filled in yet. So I think Lewis is starting to lose it here because he's just insane laughter now. So Judd's got some Budweiser, and I think he's kind of hoping against hope that Lewis will be home and not where he is pretty damn sure that Lewis is. So he's got his Budweiser, and he says, "You've done it, you stupid old man. Now you got to undo it." So he's got his Budweiser, he's got his cigarettes, and I guess, at this point, he's waiting for Lewis to come home. This scene is very hard to watch too, where he opens up Gage's casket, and he's not holding, a real child here. That's probably a doll or something, but oh my gosh, it's still very hard to watch. And he's telling his son it's going to be all right. I swear it's going to be all right. And you see the little hand there. So this is one of Rachel's nightmares about Zelda. As if the other scene wasn't bad enough, they just continue to get worse. This spring up right there by Zelda is just, I'm terrified by that. I mean, not so much so that I can't sleep, but she says, "I'm coming for you, Rachel, and this time I'll get you." And oh man, the look on Zelda's face. And then she says, "Gage and I will get you." And the voice goes down deeper, "For letting us die." And then that zoom in on the face as Zelda is laughing. And then that was a nightmare that she was having while she's on the plane ride home. And Pascal is on the plane too. And Rachel is hurrying, because she's got to get a connecting flight. And they're about ready to close this off. And I love this. Pascal is, "Don't do that, babe," and he's kind of holding the door. And so, the girl's gonna call the pilot so they won't go until Rachel is settled in. And unfortunately, Judd is asleep at the wheel, pretty much. He's falling asleep on his porch. He didn't see Lewis come home. Didn't see Lewis headed up to the Micmac Indian burial ground, which we all knew that was going to happen, right? Because Lewis has to get up to the Micmac Indian burial ground, or this movie wouldn't go in the direction it ends up going. And he says, I'm not going to stop, Gage. I'm not going to look down. He's remembering everything that Judd told him. These shots are just fantastic as well, these night shots. Well, thank you, Kentucky. You say, I don't comment a lot, but I watch a lot of your streams while doing paperwork. Thanks for your consistent output. Yeah, I try to put out, varied output, just so people don't get bored of the same old things, which is why I did that open mic on the early Friday stream to kind of get some idea of what people would like to see from me that maybe they haven't seen. Um, so here's a vision that he sees that is probably more of an additional warning than anything, but it doesn't work. Oh, Curly Jaws was in here a little bit earlier, Blissful. He may still be in here, but I'm not sure. So Rachel is still trying to get home. She's got a rental car, which just had a blowout, unfortunately. Listen, guys, I'm sorry I keep yawning. Damn, this energy drink ain't doing its job. I think it's probably because I didn't sleep very well last night. So Pascal is telling her, it's trying to stop you, don't let it win, basically. So evidently Rachel is close to home, rather. And it looks like Lewis has finished the task, and he's saying, come back to me, Gage. Come back to us. So essentially, Lewis is exhausted here, and he literally falls in the bed. And we see the stones start to move, and we know that Gage is coming back. I think that is Miko Hughes' hand there. I was thinking in Unearthed and Untold that he said that. I mean, I guess she's kind of close, but this is like, I don't know. If I was the mother and my son had got run over in the road by one of these trucks, I don't know that I could hitch a ride with another Orenco truck just to get home. You did miss a Zelda scene X-ray or a couple of them, but there's another one getting ready to come up, so you didn't miss all of them. So there's Gage. Gage is back, followed in close behind with by Church. And Gage is going to very quietly get in Lewis's medical bag and get out a scalpel. I think doing a lot of this in shadows and stuff is genius too. Uh, Actually, you want to know when are we screening the Superior in every way sequel? I remember pissing myself laughing when the stepdad sheriff kills that boy with the dirt bike. The scene that always makes me laugh is after he comes back from the dead and he, is letting food fall out of his mouth and he's laughing and the boys are laughing and all of a sudden he does that and looks time I crack up every time. Um, but that I'll try to work that one in upcoming X-Ray. Several people seem to enjoy that one. And although it does have some dark scenes in it, um, it's not nearly as dark as the original. Oh yeah, Andy. I will give a birthday shout out for Nick Gurr. So happy birthday, Nick Gurr. I hope I pronounced his name right. So Judd is pretty dang sure Gage is there. And, he's trying to get Gage to come out, basically. And I like that scene where Gage, it seems, made the house look all dilapidated and weird and stuff like that. So he's planning on, pretty much putting Gage back in the ground. He's got a knife there. But this is going to be a cringe worthy scene coming up here. And Gage is going to attack Judd on his home turf. So Judd is thinking that he's out of the bed, but Church startles him. And then that is when Gage cuts into, I guess, the Achilles tendon. There is Gage. Back from the dead Gage. And then, to add insult to injury, he just slashes across his mouth there. And then feasts on Gage's throat. And that was actually Miko Hughes doing that. And they, had a hard time explaining to this young child that this was just pretend and that he wasn't hurting Fred Gwynn or anything like that. Real tough stuff for a kid that age to do. There's Pascal again. And Pascal pretty much says, it's the end of the line for me too. And she said, I'm sure things will be fine. And his last thing is, I'm not. And here's another Zelda scene upcoming because we hear Zelda saying, Rachel, in that creepy ass voice. So she was going to go to her own house, but she heard Zelda say her name, and so she's going to Judd's house. And she sees church. Oh gosh, Kentucky, I'm trying to remember. I've only watched it one time, so somebody else that has seen the remake might have to help me out there because I don't want to give out wrong information. I'm not recalling her being in there, but that doesn't mean she wasn't in there. So again, she hears Zelda saying her name. Yeah, Kentucky really, it wasn't memorable to me. Now, if some people liked it, no harm, no foul in that. Okay, so we're seeing a very hunched over Rachel or Zelda. She says, I'm going to twist your back like mine so you'll never get out of bed again. And this is where this is so creepy. She comes running up to her and says, never get out of bed again. Never get out of bed again. This scene really got to me when I was a kid, and it still gets to me somewhat. And then she closes her eyes and looks again, and it's Gage in the outfit from the picture in her parents' house. And he says, I brought you something, Mommy. And of course, she can't believe her beloved Gage is back. She's not even paying attention that he's got a scalpel in his hand. Because what would her beautiful boy Gage is not going to hurt her. So he says, I brought you something, Mommy. And you see the shot of him just before he gets hit by the truck again, which if once wasn't enough. And you hear Rachel scream, and then Lewis wakes up from a nightmare, and man, that would have to hurt, hitting your head on the point of a table, but a bedside table. And then he sees the footprints, the muddy footprints of Gage, and he's like, Gage has been here. X-ray, you say it's a relatable, real horror type scene. Everyone either knows or knows someone who has someone similar to that in real life. Right, X-ray. So now he knows Gage must have taken his scalpel. Okay, so coming up is going to be a phone call from Gage. First, he's going to get a call from his father-in-law. Then he's going to get a call from Gage. That call from Gage is what was featured in the trailer. So I can only imagine the people that saw the trailer and had to see what in the hell this movie was all about, because I remember seeing the trailers before I actually saw the movie, and even at age 13, I was like, "Wow, this is gonna be scary as shit." I mean, I didn't think about it in those terms, but you know what I mean. So he basically tells his father-in-law, "I can't talk to you right now." So here's where he gets the phone call, and this was what was featured in the trailer. He says, "I'm at Judd's, Daddy. Want to come play with me?" And he says, "First I played with Judd. Then Mommy came and I played with Mommy. We played, Daddy. We had an awful good time. Now I want to play with you." And now, if that ain't creepy, I don't know what is. He says, "What did you do?" The kid laughs, and he says, "What did you do?" And that all of that pretty much was in the trailer. So now he's got a syringe filled with what we don't know, but we're sure it's something to uh, one, take care of church, and two, I'm sure he's got more to take care of Gage. So even though the cat has come back mean as hell, when he has to put the cat to death for a second time, um, it's it's pitiful, and the scene coming up with Gage is pitiful too. Hey, Blair, you say, "Hey, Dana, I'm at Horror Hound in Indianapolis right now. I got Robert England's autograph this morning." That's cool, Blair. How was it? How was it meeting him? So I'm sure to get this effect, they had to sedate a poor cat, but it's just, it looks so damn realistic. By the way, the 4K of this, if I didn't say that earlier, also looks exceptional. So, if you love this movie, and oh, this was actually the part where he makes the house look all dilapidated. But uh, if you love this movie, like I was saying, and have the ways and means to watch it on 4K, I would say it's well worth investing the money in it. Blair, you said, "I could tell he was tired. He really didn't say much to me. Ironically, he had 10-minute conversations with everyone else. Haha." Yeah, I know. Sometimes that happens to the best of us, Blair. Whatever circumstances that lead up to it. I've talked about several times my uh, interaction with Jamie Lee Curtis was less than memorable because, I don't blame the guy. The guy's spilling all his posters all over the place and caused havoc right before I met her. Yeah, TJ, no fair, no fair. But when the child cries here in just a second, that is what pulls at my heartstrings. He's come back from the dead. He's not the same child, but he looks like the same child, right? And that's what gets me. That pitiful cry that he lets out, that's what gets me. And these again are very tense shots because you know Gage is there somewhere. And you also know that Rachel's got to be there somewhere, right? So he sees Rachel's purse. You're right, X Ray. You say shit. Jacob's Ladder had a more uplifting ending than this film. This film, in fact, has a very dark ending. The book has a very dark ending as well. So he's found Judd. Judd's looking a little worse for wear, a lot worse for wear, actually. That's right, TJ. Rachel's just hanging around the house. Hey, Scott, you say, I'm a 40-year-old man. I cry like a baby every time I watch this. No shame there, Scott. No shame there. I could totally understand that. Oh, yeah. Rachel is indeed just hanging around the house, right, TJ? And then Gage comes flying out and attacks Lewis. And yeah, Gage is really going to town on Lewis there. We do have less than 10 minutes left in the movie, guys and gals. It seemed to go pretty fast, but that's, what well-made movies do. TJ, you say Gage flying like the zombie head in Zombie 3. So they keep flashing back to the living Gage, to the back from the dead Gage, which is not really Gage at all. Oh yeah, Blair, you say I didn't realize Denise Crosby was in Jackie Brown until the other day. Here it is. And maybe I will, X-Ray. I think that would probably be a fun one. This is where he says, no fair, no fair. And he gives one last snarl to Lewis there. But as we're going to find out in a minute or two, Lewis has not learned his lesson yet. Okay. You would think he would have, but no, he has not. To leave the dead, like Judd said, sometimes dead is better. TJ, it is my thinking because I remember the picture, the old picture in Rachel's parents' house of a young girl dressed in that exact same outfit, basically. And I think that for whatever reason, that was Zelda's outfit. So the scene where she's seeing Zelda and then it fades into Gage wearing that outfit. That's what I think, but I could be wrong on that. A watch along the Dawn. You mean like Jay Reel's film, or you mean Dawn of the Dead? Because uh, if we could find enough people that had a ways and means to watch Dawn, we could do that. Or and we could do Dawn of the Dead too. X-Ray says they dressed him like that because it's just fucking creepier. So here's where I say Lewis has not learned his lesson, because he says, "It'll be all right, Rachel." He's taking Rachel to the damn Micmac Indian burial ground. He says, "I promise." Um, he says, "It'll be all right because she just died. We waited too long with Gage." His reasoning, we know it's messed up, right? But this is a grief stricken father and husband. Blair, you say Jay Real. Okay, yeah. And yeah, I'd love to have Jay on here. I'm sure Jay would do it if I gave him enough advance notice. X-ray, you say, if we can get Jay away from doing his reps. So we're hearing Judd's voiceover there about what you own eventually will come home to you. So he's buried Rachel in that damn Micmac Indian burial ground, and he's going to sit here and play solitaire until she comes home. Unfortunately, he's going to end up going to sleep, but I think it's going to end bad regardless of where he went to sleep or he stayed awake the whole time playing solitaire. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He doesn't go to sleep. For some reason, I was thinking he went to sleep. So here comes Rachel, and we know, oh man, this is not going to be good. So he had the alarm set for midnight as well. And she's missing an eye, and she says, "Darling," and it's got the stuff running out of her eye, and ugh, he starts kissing her. And she's reaching for the knife. And we end with no. And we get, no matter what you may think about the Ramones, we get this wonderful song by the Ramones that's the fitting end to this movie. And I'm glad that Mary Lambert, you know, chose the Ramones to do the Pet Sematary song at the end. And forgive me if I'm wrong on this. I don't know if this was a song that they had wrote prior to this even being a movie. Feel free to throw that out there if you know, TJ or whoever. But I would, the older I got, I started singing along with this. I love this song so much so that I recorded it on a cassette tape, I believe, from the movie. And I would just start listening to it at various points in times. Now it's a lot easier to get songs like this. You don't have to necessarily record them with a cassette recorder um, from the actual movie. Yeah, they were fans of Stephen King. Yes. And X-Ray says, cue the Ramones. I love the Ramones too, Blissful. They were a band that had to grow on me. I think the older I got, the more I became a fan of the Ramones. Yes, and Stephen King was definitely a fan of the Ramones. And Mary Lambert was a music person. I think she filmed a lot of music videos. So I'm sure she had connections somewhere. So I think though they only mentioned Blaze Birdall. I was thinking originally it showed both of them, but it was Blaze Birdall and her sister, um, who actually played Ellie Creed. Beat the Brat, Unseen says. Blissful, really, Joey was your first rock crush? LOL. I never did like, but I guess if I had been old enough to remember them when they were in their prime and stuff like that, perhaps Joey Ramone would have been a crush. I mean, I love watching Rock and Roll High School. I love that PJ Souls has those fantasies about Joey Ramone. And that's one of my favorite movies ever. Oh, that would have been interesting. X-Ray, you say The Shining was missing Ramone's end credits song. Yes, TJ, I agree. Rock and Roll High School is a cult music classic. And I would love to do a watch along for Rock and Roll High School at some point in time, too. So I'm sure a lot of you in here, if not all of you, would enjoy that. Blissful says, love that movie, TJ. Uh, so, guys and gals, we have officially reached the end of the Pet Cemetery watch along. I hope you guys and gals have all enjoyed it. I had a fantastic time revisiting it. It's going to make me want to go back and actually watch it and pay more attention to it. I mean, I love doing these watch alongs, but when I really want to watch something and pay attention to the story and all of that, um, watch along is not the appropriate way to do that. But I have fun with these nonetheless, or I wouldn't be doing them. Um, Well, you're welcome. Thank you, Unseen, for coming by. In fact, thank all of you that were in here for, even if you weren't in here for the duration, I thank you because, as I always say, you can go back and watch these on the replay. I mean, some people like to be in here when they're live, they get more enjoyment in them that way. But, I know our lives are not structured that somebody can be here at any point in time to be here for every stream that someone has. Not only me, but anybody has. Um, you are welcome, Blair. TJ, you say, watch that awesome remake. Cough, cough, burp. I mean, I'm not going to tell people not to watch it. I'm just saying that I didn't find it enjoyable. Thank you, Blissful. You said Dana Gray live as usual. And I wholeheartedly agree with Blissful. The chat was amazing, as always. And we didn't have any trolls, did we? Which is that all important thing. So, um, I would love to stay on here longer, but I got to try to get some sleep tonight because I didn't get much last night. And Blissful can attest to that because I was chatting back and forth with her late. When we doing cat's eye X-ray, I definitely that will be forthcoming. I will be fitting it in. If I haven't already got it on my list, I think I may have it on my list. Hold on a second, X-ray. Um, it seemed like I did have that on my list, and I'll be giving reminders for all of these things the closer we get to each one of these. Now, I do want to remind everybody, and I promise I will get that information for you, X-ray. I do want to remind everybody that tomorrow night, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, will be a comedy watch along for Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I think we're just going to watch the regular version, not the version that shows Damone's penis, because I don't know how many people are going to have access to that version. It is like the newest Blu-ray Criterion release. It has that version, but I'm just going to play it safe and use the original version. And I think we'll all enjoy it. We don't need that little bitty snippet, okay? Or I don't think we do. Also, August 26th and 27th will be the upcoming Saturday and Sunday watch alongs. August 26th will be Carrie, followed on August 27th with Mystic Pizza. I'm still counting on getting that Mystic Pizza to eat a slice or two while I'm doing the watch along. All right, so hold on one second here. I could have sworn that I had Cat's Eye on here, but maybe I didn't. Give me 1 second here. You know what? I guess, well, maybe I do. Hold on here. Maybe I don't have it on here. That's a shame. Okay. I tell you what. I've got these ready up through April 28th. But how about the first Saturday? Hold on 1 second here. Oops. The first Saturday in May, whatever that may be here. Let's look at my planner here. Sorry, guys. I have to take a pause here. So May 4th. May 4th will be Cat's Eye, okay? I already got that down here. So you guys can count on that. It's going to be a while, but we're definitely going to get to Cat's Eye. I'm surprised that I didn't already have that down because I had several Stephen King ones. All right. So May 4th will be Cat's Eye. All right. So Sunday, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time will be Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Hope many of you, if not all of you, can join me for that one. TJ said, get some rest, Dana. Don't watch all the YouTubers who have had live streams of playing the new Texas Chainsaw game the last 2 days, LOL. Well, unfortunately, I've already saw little snippets of it because Steve has been watching it. I definitely want to get a hold to that game as soon as I can. Blissel says, TJ, I don't understand those lives. Honestly, I don't have the time to do gameplay online. TJ says, gotta be hip like them, Blissful, LOL. So, yes, I do have to get some rest, but I do want to remind you that Monday will be another Camp Cronenberg. I'll be talking about, I believe, the short films of David Cronenberg. Tuesday, I'm not sure. Wednesday, I'm pretty daggone sure TJ and I will return with another Friday the 13th, the series episode breakdown. Another 8 episodes of season 2. And Thursday, of course, will be a Seductive Poison, the Resurgence podcast. I will be covering, I'm already got that one planned, made for television horror from the 90s. So, and then Friday will be an early stream. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet, but it'll be a surprise. And then, of course, Saturday and Sunday will be the Carrie and Mystic Pizza watch-alongs. Thank you, Blissful. You say sleep well, Dana. And you also say, TJ, I'm not hip. I'm more hop. LOL. So, thank you guys once again for joining me for this Pet Sematary watch-along. And as I always say, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night. And I will see everyone on the flip side. You guys and gals have a great night. And I'll see you next time.